Okay. So let's start. So last time I explained, or last lecture I explained, let's start. I explained to stop and wait, and I told you the idea of stop and wait is it's just very simple scheme. I told you what we are gonna do here. You transmit one frame, and then you wait. You wait until you receive acknowledgement, and then after you receive the acknowledgement for this frame, you send another frame, and then you wait, and so on. Okay. And if you don't receive acknowledgement within a certain time, we call it time out, you know, but this is how can you know the frame is lost. Okay, and then you are gonna retransmit the frame again. Okay, very simple idea. That's why it's called stop and wait. You transmit, you stop, okay, and then you wait for acknowledgement. Okay. So what is bad about this scheme? What is bad about this scheme is that it is inefficient. Or very low utilization of the channel. Why? Because you wait. The word you wait. You have the channel. The physical layer is giving you a certain bit rate, but you are not using this bit rate. Why you are not using this bit rate? Because you wait. You have a channel you can transmit, but you are not transmitting. You are waiting until you receive acknowledgement. And in order to better understand this problem, I give you this example, very important example. I explained this example before to understand the low utilization here. First of all, you should know what bandwidth delay product means. Okay, this is what I told you. If you have a cable, how many frames can be in transition to keep the cable full? Okay, or how many bits can be in transition? And also, I told you should understand the double of this number, what it means. Double this number, you should understand. So double this number means when I calculate this number in this example, it was 10,000, and double this number is actually 20,000. What this number means is this is actually how many bits you can transmit when you send a frame and then you receive acknowledgement. Okay, during this time to go and come back, during this time, okay, how many bits I am able to transmit. So here you are able to transmit 20,000 bits, but actually because this scheme is telling me to transmit only one frame and wait, and the frame here was 1,000. So although I can, during this time, from the time you transmit a frame and you wait until you receive acknowledgement, during this time, I'm able to transmit up to 20,000 bits, but you only transmit 1,000. That's why the utilization is so bad. You just use 5% of the channel you have. You understand the problem? So, and then I also give you an extension to this example to more understand the idea here. So what I'm saying here, okay, what about instead of sending one frame and wait for acknowledgement, assume we are going to send 15 frames instead of only sending one. We found that if I do that, here we have 15,000 bits. That 15 frames means 15,000 bits. That means I can increase the utilization to 75%. Okay, so again, and this is the problem of this scheme, that you send one frame and wait. Okay, so and this is what we are going to fix in the next one, sliding window. So the next scheme here, so that in sliding window, okay, you are not going to send one frame and wait. No, I'm gonna transmit multiple frames in order to fully utilize the channel. For example, I think this picture is very important. So if you look at this picture, this is stop and wait. You only transmit one packet or one frame here, and then you wait until you receive acknowledgement. But this is a sliding window, or sometimes you call it pipeline protocols or sliding window, as you see here. As you see here, you are going to transmit multiple frames this way, and then you are going to receive multiple acknowledgement okay, this way. Okay, in order to fully utilize the cable. Okay, this is slide, we call it, you will understand, or I already explained last time, the idea of this window that's sliding. That's why we call it a sliding window, okay? Or you can, it's pipeline. You can sometimes you call it pipeline or sliding window, okay? Now, what if one of the frames here in transition? So actually, before I say that, okay, for example, when you receive acknowledgement here, this acknowledgement for a very old back frame I transmit before. You understand what I'm saying? So here I transmit a frame here, and then I transmit other frames here. So I receive acknowledgement for the old frame. This one will be for this one. This one will be for one and so on. You understand what I'm saying? So here I receive, like I can say, late acknowledgement, late. So transmit frame, and then I'm gonna transmit acknowledgement for all the frame, okay, that I already transmitted before. Anyway, so now, what if one of these frames is lost, or something? One of these frames is lost. Is that okay? So how can we fix this problem? So actually, to do that, there are two approaches. One approach, we call it go back in, and the other approach is called selective. Both of them are sliding windows. The difference between them is if one frame is lost, how can you fix it? Okay. So in case of go back in, okay, you actually are gonna transmit the frame you lost and also next frames, even if you received them. Okay, so if I lose this frame, I'm gonna transmit this frame and the other ones, because as I explained last time, okay, you have a window of frames. Okay, if the window is exhausted, you transmit everything, you don't receive any acknowledgement, you go back in, as I explained last time. That's why it's called go back in. N is the size of the frame. So once, if there is a mistake, I'm gonna go back in. Okay, so go back in means I'm gonna go back to transmit again what I transmitted before inside this window. That's why it's called to go back in. Okay, so, but the other idea, which is better for sure, we'll call it selective. You can tell from the English name, it is selective. Selective means I'm not gonna transmit if a frame, if there is a mistake in a frame, I'm not gonna transmit the other frame, because the other frame may already have it. This is the main difference. So if this mistake is an error, in go back in, I'm going to transmit this one and leave this one, even if you receive this one. But in selective, if this one is an error, I'm going to only transmit this one. I'm not going to transmit the other ones. That's why this one is more efficient, okay? But I want you to understand, yes, this scheme is better than this scheme. However, nothing is for free. I can make the scheme better, but you have to make it, we make it more complicated. You need more computation, you need more memory, and so on, as you will see right now. Okay. So, as I explained last time, for go back in, here we had a window at the sender side. We had a window. That's why it's called a sliding window. You should understand what I mean by sliding. First, you should understand what I mean by window. Window is just a group. It's a group of frames. If the window size is n, for example, here in this case, n is 15, what it means? Well, it means this window can have 15 frames. We are going to assume the size is fixed. Okay, so this window is going to have 15 frames. Okay, and as I told you last time, we have a pointer here. This pointer, this one is going to point at the frame, the oldest frame I transmitted without acknowledgement. So I transmit this one, I transmit this one. I'm up to here. So I transmitted all of these ones, but all of them are not acknowledged yet. So that this pointer is going to be this frame here outside here, I already transmitted them and they are acknowledged. These ones are okay. This one's already done. They are done. Frames already acknowledged, sent and acknowledged. These frames here in orange, these frames I transmitted them, but I didn't see any acknowledgement for them yet. So if this pointer is gonna point at the beginning of the window, okay. We have another pointer, as you see here. This frames here in the window. This frames in the window. Frames. I didn't transmit it. So here I can transmit it. Okay. It's not allowed to transmit any frames outside the window. So you can't go outside the window and to transmit any frame. So every time I transmit one frame, this pointer has to move this way. Make sense? So every time this pointer is here, I'll transmit it number 7. As I said last time. Also, every time you receive acknowledgement, this one is going to be shifted this way, and the whole window is shifted. Okay, because here I'm assuming the window size is fixed. So, for example, if I assume the acknowledgement for 0, so it's going to be the window is going to be shifted this way. So I'm going to input a new one here, as you see. Also, I receive another one. It's going to be shifted. It's going to be slide this way. That's why we call it a sliding window. So I have a window here this way. This window has some frames here in the very beginning. I transmitted them, but they are not acknowledgement. Once I receive acknowledgement, it's going to be slide this way. Slide this way. Slide. That's why it's called sliding this way. Okay, so the window is sliding. Every time the window is sliding, so I'm going to input here inside the window frames I can transmit. So these frames are not transmitted, and I can transmit. Okay. Also, I told you last time, if there is an error, what's going to happen? This pointer is going to move all the way to here. Okay. And at this moment, if this pointer reaches to the end here, at this moment we say the window is exhausted. So what it means? The window is exhausted. What this term means? Can anyone tell me? The window is exhausted. What it means? Window is exhausted. What it means? It means I transmitted all the frames here in this window, and I didn't receive any acknowledgement for any one of them. That's why it's called exhausted, right? So when this pointer, here, this pointer, I transmit this one, when it comes to here, that means all of them are transmitted without receiving any acknowledgement. At this moment, I can know something is wrong. And to fix the error, I'm going to go back in. That's why this one is going to go back in. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back again, retransmit everything in the window again. That's what I'm saying? Transmit everything in the window again. Yeah, I think this example is very important, because from this example, you will understand this scheme, and also you will understand the next one, okay? So for example, let's look at this example here. You transmit frame number 0, I acknowledgement, you are happy, I am happy, okay? You transmit number 1, I acknowledgement, you are happy, I'm happy. You transmit number 2, I acknowledgement, okay, everybody is happy. Now, there is a problem at 3. You sent frame number 3, okay? You sent frame number 3, but frame number 3 was not delivered. There was an error in 3, okay? Here, we assume go back 4. In here is 4. The window size is 4. Okay. So what's going to happen here? You are going to transmit number 4, as you see here. But at the receiver side, I have to receive the frames in order. I don't have a buffer to store these frames. Okay. So number 4 and 5, 6, I'm going to discard them. I'm going to discard 4, 5, 6 because they are out of order. I only receive in order. So let me go, yeah, here. For example, this is how it looks like at the receiver side. Okay? At the receiver side, the pointer is here. I'm expecting number 3. If you send to me 4 or 5 or 6, I'm not gonna accept them. I have to receive them in order. Okay. Once I receive 3, so I'm gonna move to here. I'm expecting 4 and so on. Okay. I have to receive them in order. Is that okay? And that's exactly what happened here. Although 4, 5, 6 was sent to you, okay, I'm not gonna accept them because I don't have a buffer. Okay, I'm waiting for 3. So once you discover there is an error, what should you do? Okay, so now I discovered this is an error because I was expecting number 3, but I got 4. So something is wrong, right? How can we fix the error? Just to keep silent. That's it. Why? When I keep silent, the sender is going to keep sending until the window is exhausted, and it's going to retransmit everything again. And this is exactly what happened. I discovered the error here, I discovered the error here, I accept number 4. I was expecting number 3. So I know there is an error. I'm not going to send acknowledgement. Just I'm going to keep silent. When I keep silent, the symbol is going to say 4, 5, 6, and that is moving the windows exhausted. The site is 4. So the window here it translate 3, 4, 5, 6. The window is exhausted, and they are going to need to see. Is that okay? Okay. And I told you also last time, I can do a small enhancement to this idea. The small enhancement is why, if there is an error, why I have to wait until the window is exhausted? It may take too long to wait until the window is exhausted. Why, if there is an error, why you just say notify the sender that there is an error? Okay, so instead of waiting until the window is exhausted. So I explained this also last time. So I told you in order to do that, this is just like a small enhancement using negative acknowledgement. So as you see here, what happened here? This one was lost. I know now there is an error because I didn't receive them in order. I know there is an error here. Instead of waiting, I want to correct the error as soon as possible. Okay? So instead of waiting until the window is exhausted at the receiver, and the receiver is going to retransmit everything again, like an enhancement here, I'm going to send what we call a negative acknowledgement here. When you send the negative acknowledgement, once the receiver receives the negative acknowledgement, the receiver is going to go back and retransmit everything again. Okay? So again, to understand what I'm saying, we have a window this way. Okay? If there is an error, so I'm going to go back until the end. Now the window is exhausted. I'm gonna go back in, retransmit everything again. That's what I said. Okay. We can do like enhancement. Why? I want to correct the error quickly. Why I have to wait until the window is exhausted? Okay. So the enhancement is once I discover an error, for example, I discover, let me use a different color. Okay. So what happened here, I discovered error here at this frame. And then I'm going to send the negative acknowledgement. After you receive negative acknowledgement, I'm going to go back and retransmit everything again. You got what I'm saying? Instead of waiting until the window is exhausted. Anyway, this is just a simple enhancement. Okay. So what is bad about this scheme? And this is what we are going to fix in the next one. And always you should keep in mind, every time you want to improve the scheme, it's not for free. You have to pay the cost for that. The scheme is going to be more complicated. You need more resources. You need computation. You need memory and so on. Is that okay? So the problem, or what's bad about this one? What's bad here? What is bad is, look here. What is bad is, now you sent a frame. You sent a frame 3. I didn't receive it. Is that okay? You sent the 4 and 5 and 6. I already received them. So I already received the 4 and 5 and 6. Okay? But because the receiver does not have a buffer, the receiver is expecting. I made the receiver very simple. This is a receiver. I made it very simple. I'm gonna it's only one frame, right? I don't have buffer. Okay, I'm expecting to receive the frames in order. Okay, in this one. Okay, because of that, because I made the receiver very simple. Although I already received these frames, you are gonna need to receive them again. You get what I'm saying? So the bad thing about this one is, because I made the receiver very simple, the receiver does not have a buffer. The receiver only accepts frames in order. So if I receive frames out of order, you need to retransmit them again. That's bad for sure. So I already received the frames and you are going to send them again. You understand what I'm saying? So, and this is what we are gonna improve in the next one. That's why the next one is called selective. You can tell from the English name, selective. And you can tell from the English name, go back in. If the window size is in, okay, once there is an error, okay, the window is exhausted, I'm gonna go back in to retransmit everything again, okay? But this one is selective. What selective means? Selective means instead, yeah, here selective means the error was in number 3. I had error in 3, okay? I already received, I don't have a problem with 4, 5, with 4, 5, 6. I already received them, okay? So here in go back in, you are gonna retransmit everything, including 4, 5, 6 that I already received. But in selective, you are gonna only transmit 3. I lost the 3, you are gonna transmit back to me 3. That's why it's better. There is no duplication. There is no redundancy. Okay, for sure that is good. But again, this is not for free. Look here to understand what I did. You should see how the receiver here is very simple, and you will see later how the receiver is going to be more complicated. Okay, I need, because simply as this is the receiver side. At the receiver side, I'm going to have another window here at the receiver side. In this window, I received already 4, 7, 9. I received other ones here, so I have to keep track of which frames I received, which frames I didn't receive, and so on. So it's gonna be more complicated as the receiver side. Anyway, so now let's come here to the last one here. Here in this slide, I want to tell you that there is a restriction. There is a restriction on the window size. Okay, the window size must be less than 2 to the power m. So what is m? M, number of bits you have in the header of the frame, number of bits that's used for frame number. For example, if m is equal to 2 bits, if m is 2 bits, that means the 2 bits can have numbers from 0 until 3. So the 2 bits should have 2 to the power of m, which is 4. Okay, if m is 2, that means 2 bits. So m is the number of bits that are used for the frame number. So if m is 2, that means I can have 4 frames. Okay, from 0 to 3. The number of 0 and 3. Okay. The way it works is that you number the frame 0 to 3, and then 0 to 3, and then 0 to 3, and so on. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to only transmit 4 frames. Maybe I'm going to transmit 1 million frames. But the number of these frames, 0 to 4, 0 to 3, 0 to 3, 0 to 3, 0 to 3, and then you can send trillion frame if you want. Okay. So anyway, so why we have this? So the restriction here is, if it's a restriction, the window size must be less than 2 to the power m. Why we have this restriction? To avoid the mistake here. Okay, let's explain the problem, and then you will understand why we have this restriction. Okay, look here. Again, we have free, because here m is 2, so the frame numbers are from 0 to 3. Okay, and then 0 to 3, 0 to 3, and so on. Okay, so here this is the correct case. The correct case, 2 to the power 2 is 4. I'm gonna make the frame size 3, which is less than 4. Any number less than 4 is okay. 4 or more than 4 is bad, is wrong. Okay, so let's see let's first see the correct case. Here the window size is 3. Okay, look at what's the problem. Here this one is okay. We're not gonna have a problem. When I make it bigger, we're gonna have a problem. That's why we have a restriction on the window size. For example, here as you see, here I sent a frame number 0. Is that okay? And then assume the acknowledgement was not delivered. I lost this acknowledgement. Okay, but here at the receiver side, I already received 0. So now I'm expecting number 1. Okay, so you sent the frame number 0. Okay, so I accepted 0. Now I'm expecting number 1. Now you see the frame number 1. Okay, so I accept 1. Now I'm expecting 2. Okay, and then you see the frame number 2 here. Is that okay? And you take the number 2. So now I accepted 2. Now I'm expecting number 3. Is that okay? I'm expecting 3. However, because you didn't receive any of this acknowledgement, the window was exhausted here. Then you are gonna go back and retransmit again. Is that okay? because assuming here none of this acknowledgement was delivered, so here you are going to say 0, 1, 2, and then now the window is exhausted, you are going to go back and transmit again. Okay. So what is the problem? The problem is that when I go back and transmit again, so here I'm going to transmit frame 0 again. The receiver has to know this frame 0 is duplicated. This is a repeat for this one. This is not a new bunch, because I told you the way we do it is we transmit frame number 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. So now the receiver has to know the 0 is just a repeat for what I sent before. It's not the new one. It's not a new frame. It's not a new frame here. It's a sequence. Okay? Just repeat what I did before. In this case, because the window size is correct, because the window size is less than 2 to the power m, we don't have a problem. Okay? Because I'm expecting 3. You said you need 0. So I'm gonna discard it. I'm gonna understand, yes, you are repeating, so I'm gonna discard it. It's okay. You got what I'm saying? Now let's see the other case. The other case is if you make the window size 4, look what's gonna happen here. If you make it 4 or greater than 4. But anyway, if you make it 4, look what's gonna happen. You sent frame 0, I accepted. You sent frame 1, I accepted. You frame 2, I accepted. You sent frame 3, I accepted. And now I'm waiting 0. Now I'm waiting 0. But so here your window is exhausted. You are gonna go back and transmit 0. Okay. So here I'm gonna think this 0 is the new frame in the new bunch, because we receive emails. We receive frames from 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. So what happens, because the window size is, you are retransmitting this one, I'm going to think this is a new frame, right? I'm going to think this is the new frame is not duplicated, because now I'm expecting 0 and you send 0. You got what I'm saying? So at the receiver side, I'm not going to know this 0 is actually, this frame is similar. It's just you are repeating this frame. Anyway, you understand what I'm saying? So anyway, the conclusion is there is a restriction on the window size. In this case, the window size has to be less than 2 to the power m to avoid this kind of confusion. Any questions? Again, the confusion is when you resend a frame, if this frame is just repeat to what you did before, or duplicated frame, the receiver should know this is duplicated. You got what I'm saying? It's not a new one. Okay, so if you make the window size equal 2 to the power m, the receiver will be confused. The receiver will think this frame a new one. I'm gonna accept it like a new one. Okay. Anyway, any questions? Okay. Now let's move to the selective. I told you for the selective, okay, it's still a sliding window. Anybody here doesn't know the idea of the windows sliding? That's why you call it a sliding window. Because simply here at the receiver side here, I have a window of frames. The sender can transmit only frames here in this window. Okay. So the sender can transmit up to here. Can I transmit 15? No, it's outside the window, right? So I can only transmit frames inside the window. Okay. So every time I receive acknowledgement, this window is gonna slide to enter a new frame to transmit. So every time I receive acknowledgement, the window is gonna slide this way to enter a new frame. So if there is no error and everything is perfect, the way it has to work. This is the window, okay? This is the oldest frame I transmitted. When I receive acknowledgement, so the window is gonna be slide. Receive acknowledgement is gonna be slide. Every time the window is slided, so I'm gonna input here new frames you can transmit. That's why I put sliding window. The size of the window is fixed. So Windows size is fixed, and then it is sliding this way. Okay? And you can keep transmitting. Why? As long as you have frames here you didn't transmit in the window, you can keep transmitting. Okay. Anyway, so now what we are gonna do here in selective, here's as I told you, the receiver here is too simple. The receiver here is Yeah, so receiver here is very simple. The receiver doesn't have a buffer. The receiver is expecting frames in order. Anything that's out of order, I'm gonna discard. Okay? So now I'm gonna complicate the receiver more. Okay? So the receiver is gonna have like a window, another window like this one. So now we have two windows. I'm not gonna change the sender. So everything I explain the sender is gonna continue. So, but the receiver, there will be another window. It's the same idea here, another window at the receiver side, okay? To enable the receiver to receive frames out of order. So how it works, I'm gonna tell you how it works here. Yeah, so here I have a very good slide here to understand the difference between go back in and selective. So for example, here, as you see, you sent frame number 2 here, but there was an error in number 2, all right? I already received the other ones here, these frames, but these frames are discarded. I received them, but I just discarded them at the receiver, okay? So you have to, because I'm expecting to receive everything in order. Is that okay? So you are gonna retransmit them again. So all of this, including the ones you already sent before, you are gonna repeat them here. Okay. However, in case of selective, it's gonna be much more efficient because here the error was in 2 here. Okay, error was in 2. 3, 4, 5. I received them and they are out of order. So I'm gonna keep them in the buffer. You don't need to retransmit again. I already received them. Why you should retransmit again? Okay. Anyway, and then I'm gonna send you a negative acknowledgement for 2. Okay, and then you are gonna only retransmit 2. Okay, so you can very obvious here. You can see the difference between the two algorithms. If there is an error in 2, you are gonna retransmit only 2. If there is an error in 2, you are gonna retransmit the whole. You are gonna transmit the whole window, right? You go back and retransmit the whole window. Okay. We don't actually. I already received some of these frames, and you just retransmit. Any questions? How can we implement this idea? And again, for the sender, everything is the same for the sender. Okay, I'm not going to change anything for the sender. So at the sender side, we have a window. We have SF here. SF is pointing at the oldest frame I transmitted, but it's not acknowledged yet. SF is pointing at a frame I can transmit, because as long as it is inside the window, you can transmit. You can't go outside the window here. You can't. Okay. So anyway, same thing as I explained before. However, the way you are going to correct errors is going to be different. Here at the receiver side, as you see here, the receiver side is going to have a window as well. Okay. In this way, what this means? It means I can accept any frame inside this window. Any frame inside this window, I can accept it, even if it is out of order, right? So that means if you look at this one here, I received number 4 out of order. I received 7. I received 9, but I didn't receive the other ones yet. What I'm saying. So here, once I receive this one, the window is gonna slide. So it's the same thing. This window is gonna slide. Okay, but the difference is that this window is gonna slide when I receive acknowledgement. So every time I receive acknowledgement, so this one is gonna move. It's gonna move with acknowledgement. But this one is gonna move with frames. So every time I receive a frame, so this one is gonna move. So this one. So now we have 2 windows. One window at the receiver, one window at the transmitter. Okay. Let's see. I think this is very important to understand the idea here. Again, you will see at the sender side, there is no difference at the sender side. Just I change the receiver side. So as you see here, let's see how it works. We have a window here. This is the window at the sender side. We have 2 pointers. One pointer to tell me the beginning of the window, one pointer to tell me the frame I can transmit, as you see here. So now I transmitted frame number 0. We transmitted frame number 0 here. That's why, as you see here, we have here in this window, we have frame number 0 transmitted, but it's not acknowledged yet. SN is at 1. SN is at 1. That means I can transmit 1. Okay. So at the receiver side, as you see here, at the receiver side, we have a window here. It's only allowed for the receiver to accept frames in this window. So if I receive 0, I'm going to accept it. If I receive 1, I'm going to accept it. 2, 3 are okay. Anything outside this window, I'm not going to accept it. Okay. So I can accept frames out of order, but it has to be inside the receiver window. Okay. So what's going to happen here? Because I received 0, so this window is going to slide. Every time you receive a frame, the window is going to slide. Okay, so this window is going to slide. Now you send acknowledgement. When you send acknowledgement, so that means you are telling me frame 0 is delivered. You already delivered frame 0. So this window is going to slide as you see here. The window is going to slide as you see here. Okay, with the acknowledgement. So you can always see here, the window here is going to slide with acknowledgement. The window here is going to slide with frames. Every time you see frame, I'm going to. Okay, now let's see errors. You transmit frame number 1, but this frame was lost. Frame number 1 was lost. Okay, so frame number 1 is here. I put it here inside the window. I sent it, but it was lost. Okay, and then you transmit frame number 2. Now the receiver can know something is wrong, because I received 0 and then I received 2. I didn't receive 1. So something is wrong, okay? Because now I discovered something is wrong, I'm gonna send a negative acknowledgement to here to tell the receiver something is wrong. I didn't receive frame number 1. Is that okay? However, until you receive this acknowledgement, the center has already sent 2 and 3. Until I receive this acknowledgement, you already sent 2 and 3. In the previous scheme, discard, right? But here, no. I'm going to keep them in here. I'm going to keep them in the buffer. So 2 and 3, I'm going to keep them. Okay? But the window is not going to slide, as you see here. So number 2, I received 2. So I'm going to keep it in the buffer. I received 3. I'm going to receive it in the buffer. Once the receiver receives negative acknowledgement, the receiver is going to resend frame 1. Once I receive frame 1, so now I have 1, 2, and 3. So then I'm going to slide the window. That okay? You should also understand something. Layer number 3 is receiving the frames in order. Layer number 3 can't order frames. You understand what I'm saying? Layer number 3 is you have to receive frames in order. That means when I receive frame number 2, I'm not going to send it to layer number 3. When I receive 3, I'm not going to send it to layer number 3, right? I have to wait until I receive 1, 2, 3 in order, okay? And then I send, at this moment, I send acknowledgement, and also I'm going to send them to the upper layer. So the order has to be done by layer number 2, right? So here, it's not going to be like when I receive 2, I'm going to send it to the upper layer. No, the upper layer is expecting frames in order. So I have to wait until I order them 1, 2, 3. At this moment, I'm going to send acknowledgement to tell the sender, okay, now I'm expecting 4. I'm okay with 2 and 3. I'm expecting 4 right now. And at this moment, when you receive acknowledgement as well, I'm gonna transmit these frames 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna send to the upper layer. Any questions? Okay. The next thing I want to teach here is the same thing as I explained before. There should be exactly the same thing here for as I explained here for go back in the restriction on the window size. What should be the window size? Okay, in order to avoid this mistake. So here for the selective, the restriction is the window size has to be at most half At most, it has to be half 2 to the power m. At most. Half 2 to the power m. Or 2 to the power, you know, half 2 to the power m, it means 2 to the power m minus 1. Okay? So it at most, it has to be 2 to the power m minus 1. Half 2 to the power m. You can see this restriction is different from this one. Yes, it is different. Because it's here the story is different. Here you are going to receive them in order, but the other one you can receive them out of order. So here the window size can be up to it must be less than 2 to the power n, right? It has to be less than 2 to the power to avoid this mistake. The other one here, it has to be at most it has to be at most half. Okay. So again, in order to show you what kind of error can happen, as you see, similar to what I did before, here the window size is half 2 to the power m. The window size is greater than half. Again, it's the same problem. You are gonna repeat a frame, and the receiver here, because this one is correct, the receiver will know this is a repeat. But here, because it's wrong, the receiver will think it's the new frame. Okay, the same thing. So let's see here. For example, we are going to assume m is equal to 2. So 2 to the power m, 2 to the power m is actually equal to 4, right? Half this number is 2. So at most the window size has to be 2, and that's what I did here. As you see, the window size has to be 2. So what happens here? You sent a frame number 0. Okay, I received 0, but you didn't receive acknowledgement. You sent a frame number 1. I received it. Okay, and then you didn't receive the acknowledgement. Okay, and now the window is exhausted. So you sent 0 and 1, and the window is exhausted. So you are going to go back because you didn't receive any acknowledgement. You are going to go back to transmit 0 again. So this 0 is not a new frame. 0 is just repeat or duplicated with the one you sent before. Okay. So here at the receiver side, there is no mistake. Why? Because the window here is because this frame 0 is outside the window. I'm not going to accept it because the window here is 2 and 3. The window 0 and 1. Sorry, the window is a very clear. When I set 0, I shift it. Here, when I set 1, I shift it. So this 0 is going to be outside the window. Because it's outside the window, I will know this is duplicated. I'm not going to accept it. You get what I'm saying? Let's look at the mistake. What happens here in the mistake? Okay. If I make the window greater, look at the problem here. You sent 0, you sent 1, you sent 2. Is that okay? So this is the window here. You sent 0. I'm gonna, because I received the frame, I'm gonna slide the window. You received 2. I'm gonna slide the window. Okay. So now when I did that, when I slide the window this way, 0 is in the window. 0 in the window. So what happens here is exhausted. We're gonna go back and we sent 0 again. When you transmit 0, I'm gonna consider it like a new frame. It's not duplicated. That's what I'm saying. It's a mistake. So I'm gonna take the frame 0 as a new one. It's not duplication to the old one. So mistake happens here. Okay? Anyways, that's why you have a restriction on the window side. Any questions? Okay. One more thing before I finish this chapter. Again, I told you the schemes I explained are for flow and the error control. Two things. So we have two problems: flow problem, error control problem, or error problem. Okay. Although they are two problems, but I'm gonna fix the two problems using only one scheme. So the same scheme is gonna be used for flow and error control. Is that okay? Error control, we are gonna handle error, as I said before, by retransmission. Flow, what flow means? As I said multiple times, flow means the receiver should have the ability to control the speed of transmission of the sender. Okay, I shouldn't allow the sender just to overwhelm me, transmit, and I'm not able to process this information. Okay, so the sender, the receiver should have some ability to control the speed of transmission. Okay, how we did that? So maybe in this scheme, because we only focus on error, we are going to do this error. You see the error control, but maybe the flow control part is somehow it's not clear here. Okay, so Here, number one, you can control the speed of transmission by doing a lot of things. Number one, the receiver can delay acknowledgement, okay? Because when I delay acknowledgement, because you are not at the sender side, you are not gonna leave. You are not gonna leave your window until I send you acknowledgement. As long as you don't receive acknowledgement, you are gonna continue with this one. That's how I can control you. You cannot just keep transmitting. Okay, I can control you. Okay, so I can delay acknowledgement. More importantly, in the very beginning, you can control the window size in the very beginning. Okay, what's really important here is to understand what is the relation between the window size and the speed of transmission. What is the relation between the window size and the speed of transmission? Okay, what you should understand is that the bigger the window size, the faster the sender is transmitting, the faster. Why? Because as I told you, you have to if you have in here, you have to transmit until the window is exhausted. Okay, so if I make it bigger, that means you are gonna transmit more frames. If I make it smaller, so I'm gonna restrict you. I'm gonna keep you here. I'm gonna restrict you. Okay. So again, one of the things we can do here to control the speed of transmission is by in the communication in the very beginning, we can negotiate. Between the sender and receiver, we can negotiate the window size. Okay. You should understand the bigger the window size, the more data you're going to transmit. The small, so I can restrict your transmission by making the window size smaller. Okay. Also, one of the things also we can do, even during the session, during the communication, we can change the window size. So if we select a certain window size, and I find you are overwhelming me, you transmit too much data to me, so we can change the window size to make it smaller, okay, so that you can reduce your speed of transmission. Any questions? Okay. So we are done with this chapter. As I told you, I have posted next chapter. Okay. Again, next chapter is still in layer number 2. Let me go to the beginning here. In the very beginning here in this chapter, I told you here I told you in this layer we need to do framing. So I already explained the framing here in this chapter. We need to do flow control. I already explained it here. We need to do error control. I already explained it here. And then what is the other thing that is done in layer number 2 is actually medium access control. And we are going to have next chapter is about medium access control. Is that okay? One more thing. I sent you an email. I sent you yesterday 7 emails. So I sent you one email about the midterm. So do you have any questions about what I did? So I canceled a lot of parts to make it easy for you. Okay. Let me stop the recording. Okay. So I think I